Hello students, let us continue chapter 1 Nutrition in Plants. In the previous class we discussed about mode of nutrition in plants. We now know about the meaning of nutrition. Nutrition is the mode of taking of food by an organism and its utilization by the body. Next, we discussed about autotrophs and heterotrophs. Plants are called autotrophs because they prepare their own food. Animals and other organisms consume food prepared by plants. So, they are called heterotrophs. We discussed about the process of photosynthesis, which is the food making process in plants. As discussed, leaves are the food factories of plants. We learned about cells and also about chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment that is present in the leaves which helps them to capture the energy of sunlight. The word photosynthesis means the synthesis of food that occurs in the presence of light, because photo means light and synthesis means to combine. We know that animals and human beings are directly or indirectly depend on plants for their food requirements, and plants produce food with the help of solar energy. So we can say that sun is the ultimate source of energy for all living organisms. We also know what happened in the absence of photosynthesis. Life would be impossible on earth. We discussed all the above mentioned topics in the previous class. During photosynthesis, chlorophyll containing cells of leaves in the presence of sunlight use carbon dioxide and water to synthesize carbohydrates. The process can be represented in an equation. Carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives carbohydrate plus oxygen. Here we are given the representation of the process of photosynthesis in the form of an equation. So, when carbon dioxide and water combine in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, we get carbohydrate and oxygen. So, carbohydrate is produced during the process of photosynthesis. In figure 1.3, we are given the diagram showing photosynthesis. Solar energy or light energy or sunlight, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll in leaves and water and minerals combine to form carbohydrate and oxygen. Here we are shown with arrow that carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is released during the process of photosynthesis. During the process, oxygen is released. The presence of starch in leaves indicates the occurrence of photosynthesis. Starch is also a carbohydrate. The occurrence of photosynthesis is indicated by the presence of starch in leaves, because starch is also a carbohydrate and we know that carbohydrate and oxygen are released during the process of photosynthesis. Let us now proceed with activity 1.1. Take two potted plants of the same kind. Keep one in the dark or in a black box for 72 hours and other in sunlight. Perform iodine test with the leaves of both the plants as you did in class 6. Record your results. Now leave the pot which was earlier kept in the dark in the sunlight for 3 to 4 days and perform the iodine test on its leaves. Record your observations in your notebooks. So for performing this activity, you require two potted plants of same kind. One of the potted plants should be kept in the dark, or it can be kept in a black box where they will not receive sunlight for 3 days, and the other potted plant should be kept in the sunlight. You have learned how to perform iodine test with the leaves of plants in class 6. In the similar manner, you need to perform iodine test with these leaves and record your results. After that, you need to leave the potted plant which is kept in the dark in the sunlight for 3 to 4 days and perform iodine test with the other potted plant as well and record your observations for the same. You can observe that when drops of iodine solution are put on a leaf of a plant kept in the sunlight, they turn blue or black. This indicates the presence of starch in them. When drops of iodine solution are put on a leaf of a plant kept in dark, it does not turn blue or black. That is, there is no change in color, which indicates the absence of starch. The leaves of the plant kept in sunlight for 3 to 4 days, which was earlier kept in the dark, show the presence of starch with iodine solution. So with this activity, we can conclude that sunlight is inevitable for the process of photosynthesis. The leaves other than green also have chlorophyll. The large amount of red, brown and other pigments mask the green color. Photosynthesis takes place in these leaves also. Here in figure 1.4, you are given leaves of various colors. You might have also seen such leaves, and have you ever wondered that are these leaves able to perform photosynthesis? Because we know that the leaves which contain chlorophyll are green in color. The leaves other than green also have chlorophyll, but they are not green in color because the amount of other color pigments are more in them. That means the color pigments of red and brown and other pigments, they mask the green color, they cover the green color. So photosynthesis takes place on these leaves also who are not completely green in color because they have chlorophyll in them. You often see slimy green patches in ponds or stagnant water bodies. These are generally formed by the growth of organisms called algae. Can you guess why algae are green in color? They contain chlorophyll, which gives them the green color. Algae can also prepare their own food by photosynthesis. In this paragraph, we read about algae. The slimy green patches that you must have seen in ponds or in stagnant water bodies are formed because of the growth of algae. Here, stagnant water, it means water which has no flow. Algae contains chlorophyll in them, because of which the patches you see in the lake or ponds or any other stagnant water body is green in color. Now, algae contains chlorophyll, so algae can also prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Let us now discuss the next topic, synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates. You have just learned that plants synthesize carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis. The carbohydrates are made of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. These are used to synthesize other components of food such as proteins and fats. But proteins are nitrogenous substances which contain nitrogen. From where do the plants obtain nitrogen? We know that plants prepare carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis. These are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Along with carbohydrates, plants can also produce proteins and fats, which are formed with the help of nitrogen. Because proteins are nitrogenous substances, that is, protein contain nitrogen in them. Here we are asked the question, from where do plants obtain nitrogen? The answer to this question will be obtained in this paragraph. Recall that nitrogen is present in abundance in gaseous form in the air. However, plants cannot absorb nitrogen in this form. Soil has certain bacteria that convert gaseous nitrogen into a usable form and release it into the soil. These are absorbed by the plants along with water. Also, you might have seen farmers adding fertilizers rich in nitrogen to the soil. In this way, the plants fulfill their requirements of nitrogen along with the other constituents. Plants can then synthesize proteins and vitamins. You all have studied about the composition of air. Nitrogen is present in large amount in the air, but plants cannot consume the nitrogen directly from the atmosphere. The soil often contains some bacteria which are capable of converting the nitrogen into nitrates, which can be used by the plants. Also, fertilizers used by farmers and gardeners contain a high amount of nitrogen, which mixes into the soil and is used by the plants. So, in this way, plants fulfill their demand of nitrogen. Then, plants prepare proteins and vitamins. So, we get carbohydrates, proteins, and vitamins through the process of photosynthesis. The next topic we are going to discuss is other modes of nutrition in plants. There are some plants which do not have chlorophyll. They cannot synthesize food. How do they survive and from where do they derive nutrition? Like humans and animals, such plants depend on the food produced by other plants. They use the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Look at figure 1.5. Do you see a yellow, wiry branch structure twining around the stem and branches of a tree? This is a plant called Cuscuta or Amarbel. It does not have chlorophyll. It takes ready-made food from the plant on which it is climbing. The plant on which it climbs is called the host. Since it deprives the host of valuable nutrients, Cuscuta is called the parasite. Are we and other animals also a kind of parasites? You should think about it and discuss with your teacher. Many plants do not contain any chlorophyll, hence they are unable to prepare their food by themselves. Therefore, they rely on other plants and animals for their food. So, the mode of nutrition of these plants is heterotrophic. Here in figure 1.5, you can see a yellow wiry branch structure that is twining around the host plant, twining around the branches of this tree. The name of this plant is Cuscuta, also known as Amarbel. Some plants live on other plants for their nutrition. These are called parasites. The plants on which these parasitic plants survive are called the host. So in this figure, the tree you can see, it is the host plant. Now the Cuscuta climbs on the host plant and it absorbs and deprives the plant, host plant, of its nutrients. That is why Cuscuta is called a parasitic plant. Here we are asked, are we humans and other animals also a kind of parasites? So the answer to this question is no. Humans and animals are not exactly parasites on plants because they do not live on plants or in the plants for nutrition. Humans and other animals are heterotrophs which depend on plants for their food by consuming plant products. Have you seen or heard of plants that can eat animals? There are a few plants which can trap insects and digest them. Is it not amazing? Such plants may be green or of some other color. Look at the plant in figure 1.6. The picture like or jug like structure is the modified part of a leaf. The apex of the leaf forms a lid which can open and close the mouth of the picture. Inside the picture, there are hair which are directed downwards. When an insect lands in the picture, the lid closes and the trapped insect gets entangled into the hair. The lid closes and the insect is trapped. The insect is digested by the digestive juices secreted in the picture and its nutrients are absorbed. Such insect eating plants are called insectivorous plants. Some plants depend upon insects for the food and thus are called insectivorous. Here in figure 1.6 we are shown picture plant showing its lid and picture. The leaves of these plants are modified into a picture like structure as you can see here. The top part of the leaf it acts as the lid of the picture and it can open and close the picture. Inside the picture there are hair that are directed downwards and it can trap the insects. The picture on capturing the insects secrete digestive juices which help in the digestion of the insect. So when an insect lands inside the picture, the lid closes and the insect gets trapped in the hair which are directed downwards. Because of this, the insect is unable to get out of the picture and it is trapped inside it. After that, the digestive juices they are secreted and they digest the insect in the picture and the nutrients of the insect are absorbed by it. Because picture plant eats insect, it is called insectivorous plant. Is it possible that such plants do not get all the required nutrients from the soil in which they grow? The insectivorous plants grow in soil which do not contain sufficient nitrogen. These plants, like picture plant, are green and they carry out photosynthesis. To obtain a part of food, photosynthesis to obtain a part of the food required by them. But they do not get nitrogen from the soil in which they grow. In general, plants absorb nitrogen from the soil from their roots, as we discussed earlier. Insectivorous plants, however, absorb nitrogen from their animal prey through their leaves, specially modified as traps. Thus, insectivorous plants trap animals and absorb nutrients from the trapped prey because they do not get all the required nutrients from the soil in which they grow. We will discuss about saprotrophs in the next class.